Hello everyone, this video will cover Module 6. So Module 6 is just the next module where we're looking at all these Greek heroes. You're doing Jason and Perseus, so Jason and the Argonauts and the story of Perseus in this module. And then the other thing that you're doing is our first major writing assignment, which is a critiqued essay. So the critique essay I put in the previous module just so you could see the criteria for it and maybe start thinking about some topic ideas. And then in this module is where you'll actually write the essay and submit it. So, and I have quite a few things in this unit just for helping you write this essay. So as you can see, readings and resources, the main ones are Perseus and Jason, those two chapters that you'll be looking at. I do want you to try to get through these as much as possible. Perseus' chapter is actually fairly short. You'll recognize him as the one who killed Medusa. So Perseus and Medusa, very common story. His story is the basis for Clash of the Titans. I don't know if you've seen that movie before. It's a pretty inaccurate version of the story, but that's okay. And so we'll read his story. Perseus kind of came before a lot of our other heroes, so his story is fairly isolated. Jason and the Argonauts is another story where you may be somewhat familiar with the story of the Argo and their voyage, and he actually has a couple of other heroes that join his story. So as you'll notice, the chapter wise, Perseus comes first, Jason comes much later in the book. So anyway, he's kind of an interesting figure as well. So you get to hear about both of those guys. They won't be tested over until the second Greek myth exam, so we don't have a quiz over these two, just because timing wise, I wanted to make sure that you guys had plenty of time to write the essay itself, because that's the major part of this module. So if you don't get quite through Perseus and Jason's chapters, that's okay. Critique essay. This was assigned to you in the previous module. You should be thinking about what you want to write about. Basically, you can pick any I don't know what the word, media, I guess media source would be a good term for it. Book, film, TV series, comic book, video game. I really don't care as long as the primary components for the plot or the characters come from or are inspired by mythology from any area of the world. I just saw that Netflix has a new show. It's animated on the Monkey King that comes from Chinese mythology. But would be a great option. There's quite a few that are Norse related. Vikings is the big one from the History Channel. It's a really interesting show. Quite a few seasons, though that might be a lot. And there was another one, Valhalla or something like that, which would be interesting to look at. But you have plenty of options with the Greeks as well. I have a lot of students do the Disney Hercules because as soon as they read the chapter out of the book, they think back to their childhood and they're like, oh, wow, that movie was totally different from what the myth is. So there's also another Hercules movie, if you watched it, with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Hercules, a completely different idea, retelling, if you will, different approach to it. It was pretty fascinating. But there's also the Clash of the Titans movies. If you want to look into something that's not a movie, lots of books out there that have used mythology. It's a little harder since you only have the one module to do, so you might have to do a book that you've already read. But if you read Percy Jackson as a kid, those would be great books to think about. You can go back and look and see if your local library has a copy, and just go back and look and see what it was all about. Rick Riordan has a ton of different series that uses all kinds of mythology. My favorite personally was the Egyptian series. There were 3 books in that series, and they used all the Egyptian gods and goddesses. It's pretty fascinating. I've had quite a few on video games. Don't ask me to name them because I'm not a video game person, but I know that there are several that rely very heavily on mythology. And then comic series, comic books would be fine too. You can do one or a series. I get a lot of interesting different things that students have looked at for this assignment. So the essay, though, is pretty standard. You're just going to have introduction, body, conclusion. It's 2 to 4 pages long, so I'm not looking for a lengthy critique. The main part of your grade is on the critique and not the summary. So, you know, I can read a book or I can watch a movie and see the same thing you do. What I'm really interested in is your opinion of how well it works with mythology. What are some of the changes that they made to the story, which is why a lot of students choose to do something like Hercules, because we have already talked about that in class. They have the chapter in the book that they can refer back to. But you're also welcome to look for additional sources if they help you to see how it got it right or wrong. But you're not, this is not a research essay. So I'm not expecting you to do extensive research on, you know, Chinese mythology or something like that. The critique is all your own. So I'm only interested in your opinion on this one, and whether or not you feel like it was a good portrayal. And so, like, I love the movie Hercules. Obviously, the Disney Hercules, obviously I know it's wildly inaccurate compared to the myth, but when you're a kid, you know, it's a great story, and it really works well with how they portrayed it, in my opinion, through the cartoon. Now, you may differ in opinion. You may think that it's the worst version ever, and that's fine. So I'm only interested in what you think of this particular source. Format MLA style for the essay itself, and then works cited page with your book, movie, TV show, whatever, that is on the works cited page. If you are just using that source, so you haven't had to do any outside research to figure out what the original myth looked like, then that is the only thing on your works cited page. There is no in-text citation requirements. That's something that we're going to work on for the research paper. If you don't know what an in-text citation is, that's okay. But basically it's, you know, within the essay, you know, referring back to the source. Since you're doing a critique of a single media source, then you don't really need those in-text citations. We're just concerned with that one source, what it contains, and your critique of it. Couple of things for you. I've got quite a few ideas for different movies that have used Greek mythology. I actually have several sources on that. This is Goodreads list of popular books about mythology, popular video games inspired by mythology. So that may help you out a little bit if you are not really someone who's done a lot of looking at these different kinds of things. I do encourage you to use the online writing lab as part of your writing process. So I encourage you to, you know, pre-write, outline your essay, draft your essay, and then definitely revise and edit your essay. However, there are not assignments attached to that. So because this is not a writing class, I'm expecting you to just do all of this on your own, because this is how you've learned how to write. So part of the revising process is getting feedback from other people. You're welcome to email me a draft of your essay if you're lost, stuck, or confused. It is not cheating to do that. But you also have access to the BrainFuse online tutoring program, and that is how we use our online writing lab now. It's changed this semester, so I do have a video on how to use the BrainFuse online tutoring, and it goes to the same person, our writing lab coordinator, but that's just a different method for submitting, and hopefully a better method for submitting. Or you can email it to him directly if that is easier for you. And then you'll get comments back, and you'll be able to see what he suggests for changes. I have MLA sample essay here so that you know exactly what it should look like. When you're finished, you can see how it ought to be put together, title, information, double-spaced, all of that. I want it to follow MLA. And then I also have some works cited examples for a critique essay. This is what a book should look like. This is what a film should look like. This is what the textbook looks like if you need to use the textbook to check the accuracy of any of the myth. So you can put that in there as well. If there is a type of source that you're using and you're not sure what it ought to look like, you can use the Purdue OWL if you want to, or you can just email me and I can let you know, or link you a source. This is the spot where you will turn in the critique essay. This is the grading rubric I'm using. So you will want to look through the criteria and make sure that your essay is meeting the excellent or proficient category for all of the criteria if you want a good grade on the essay. The obviously competent and novice category is going to lead to a much lower score. I've got all of this stuff linked in that I just covered, and so if you are going kind of back and forth between writing the essay and then getting ready to submit it, everything is linked for you right here. And then you'll just submit the essay final draft. There is no peer editing. There is no, there's nothing else. It's just turning in the final draft. So make sure that before you submit it, you have actually read your own essay to make sure that it is a good essay. It makes sense. Everything flows together, that kind of thing, because this is, you know, your one shot. So if you have any questions at all, feel free to send me an email. Hopefully you are doing well and have a great week.